Hello everyone, Charlie Stevens here. Today I'd like to talk about reading neck diagrams. So there's a lot of ways to present guitar information in a written form. There's a whole lot of ways. We have our standard notation, we have tablature, sometimes we have just chord symbols above the words of the lyrics to a song maybe. We'd just say C and you'd know to strum a C chord while you sing that part. And then we also encounter these things called neck diagrams or chord diagrams, depending on how large they are really. And what that is just kind of a picture of our guitar, okay? So a lot of times you'll see these when you're learning a new chord. That's probably the most common use, and it will be a diagram. It will have about 4 frets on there, 6 strings going this way. And you have to remember that the one to the left, that's going to be your low E. So it goes from left to right. E, A, D, G, B, E. So that's kind of the tricky thing about that. I kind of like to pretend that I'm turning my guitar around. And if I look at my guitar that way, I see the E string at the left side there, and it looks exactly like that chord diagram box where. Or if you're looking at my guitar from your perspective, you can see the E is on the left side there. And that's exactly how the box will look to you, okay? So there's different types of these. They're typically used for chords, as I said, and the picture of it now tells you the frets. Unlike tablature, the numbers do not tell you what frets, but you're able to see what frets are there because we have the lines going this way, and those are telling you what strings they are, but then we also have lines that go that way, and those are the pictures of the frets. So if there's any numbers written on those now tell you which fingers to use. So these can be very helpful. So like I said, they're usually used for chords. You might see an X over some of the strings, and that means to not play the string if it's a chord. Or you might see a circle or an O or a 0 above a string, and that means to play it as an open string. Okay. Anywhere else, it will show you exactly where, which string, and which fret, and they'll usually have a number on there, and it will tell you which finger to use. Sometimes there's no numbers, and there's just a dot. That's pretty common too. When we learn scales, sometimes we'll see them written out in diagrams. So sometimes it won't just be 2 or 4 frets. It might be a larger diagram of more of the neck, and we can see, we can write dots on there and kind of map out pathways where scales go. And the reason that that's used instead of, say, tablature is because tablature is very linear and specific. It's this note, then this note, then that note, and that's great. That is necessary for learning a song. I couldn't teach you a song with a chord diagram because you wouldn't know when to play which of these notes. You would just be able to see what all the options of the notes are. And that's why it can be really helpful when learning scales, because oftentimes we take those scales, we could play them forwards and backwards, ascending and descending, and in the order that they go in, but we're also allowed to do other things and play, treat it like a little playground. Run forward, run back, skip a note, jump to any other note in that pattern. Okay, so we'll learn about that kind of thing when we talk about improvisation. But, it just kind of tells us, it's like a little road map. It's not directions saying you take a left, then a right. It's just a road map. This is potentially where you can go, and this is what the fingering for this scale would be. So very straightforward to read these chord diagram or neck diagram boxes, but I think they're really important. I think they really get you visualizing the guitar in a really awesome way. Okay, now we're looking at our chord diagram box here. So as we can see, we have the low E string is the left line here, all the way to the left. Then the next one over, it's our 5th string, our A string. Okay, the next one over here, that is D. Keep going to our next line, the other center line. This one is G. Okay, the second one from the right, that's our 2nd string, so that is B. And the last line on the right is our 1st string, the high E string. Okay, now we can also see we have some other lines. These represent our frets. So the thickest one at the top here, that looks different from the rest of us, that's to let you know that that's usually the end of the guitar, the nut. And then when we get to this next line, we can see that that's the 1st fret. And then the next one is the 2nd fret. After that we have the 3rd fret, the 4th fret, and we have many different sizes of neck diagrams depending on what we're trying to display. So this could be anywhere from 4 to, even up to 22 frets. I've seen diagrams of the entire neck before, but They all work just this exact same way. Really, you just need to know which string is which. So low E is all the way on the left, high E is all the way on the right. Also, one other thing that could potentially happen with these chord diagram boxes is we could be looking at a window of 4 different frets, but those might not be the first 4 frets. So you might have to look, and they might write somewhere and say 7th fret with an arrow pointing towards one of them, and you'll know that that fret is the 7th fret. So the one above that is the 8th, well, actually above it visually would be the 6th fret in that case. And then the one below it, I get confused because I call that, when I say above, I'm thinking higher in pitch. But actually when we're looking at this visually, it would actually be opposite. So if I wrote a 7 next to a given fret, then you would know if there was 1 fret left in the box above that, that would be the 6th fret. And it would be lower in pitch. 7, the next line down the page would be higher in pitch, that'd be the 8th fret, 9th, and so on. So it's possible to take a 4 fret box and have it represent any 4 frets, not just the first 4. So just keep that in mind and look out for any numbers that might indicate if we are on a different fret other than the first 4. Okay, well those are pretty straightforward, but I think they're very important in helping us visualize lots of really amazing things on the guitar and just helping us get really comfortable with where to put our fingers. So get comfortable remembering how to read these chord diagrams and neck diagrams, and we will check some out more together in the future. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.